Thank you. Krishnan, it is a pleasure to be sharing the stage with you. I think both of us come from perhaps very different domains. I come from the consumer internet product world. You lead technology for one of the largest modern tech services providers in the world. I hope that these two different points of view and perspectives that we bring to the table will help us learn from each other from this conversation and also help the audience get new perspectives. Maybe I can start off with this question, right? As one of the largest modern tech services providers in the world today, how do you see this AI era being shaped by humans and AI co-evolving with each other? How do you see the user on the street influencing the development of modern tech?
Thanks, Jay. And an honor to have the opportunity to speak in front of a scholarly audience like this, and for the opportunity to speak with somebody like Jay. So it's an interesting question. So today in the AI era, the end user on the street is the persona around whom technology revolves. And it is the end user's experience that technology seeks to improve, right? Because all business KPIs are intertwined with the user experience, and tech KPIs are connected with business KPIs. So taking our own example as Kyndryl, today we have a far deeper understanding of industries and sectors. So to give you a few examples, if a telco customer asks us to modernize their, say, talk time recharge application, the first order end goal would be how can they sell more talk time per end user on the street, or how can the recharge time be faster for the end user on the street, right? Or taking healthcare as an example, which is one of the sectors that has benefited immensely in the AI era. We recently saw this company called Neuralink announcing implantable chips that can be embedded on the brain, which has brought out this new technology, a domain called brain-computer interface, or BCI, right, where human beings can control machines with just their thought. So imagine driving a smart car just by thinking, or surfing the internet with your brain, or playing a video game with your mind, right? And we also see this coming together, or bringing together, of robotics, humanities, and biology, right? We are talking about humanoids. There was this recent robo named Sophia, which is pretty famous, right? Humanizing machines is what they call. And finally, my last example is around fintech, because in India of 2024, fintech is a classical example of how the end user on the street is influencing the progress of technology. So it's often said that Silicon Valley innovates for the first billion, India innovates for the next 6 billion, right? So here, if I take a couple of examples from fintech, see, UPI has flooded the core banking system. And what has that done to availability engineering? What it has done to availability engineering is that even a minute of downtime for banks results in tens of thousands of failed transactions. I'm sure it holds for Flipkart as well. So we are talking about 5 nines and 6 nines of availability, because as a business, you can tolerate only so many unhappy customers in a year, maybe 10,000 customers are impacted even with a minute of downtime, right? Or if you look at, see, what is synonymous with innovation of fintech in 2024 is inclusive growth, right? Financial inclusion. And one of the major aspects that is hampering financial inclusion is access to credit. So if technology, which is AI and platform engineering and data, if it can spur lending action in the economy, if it can remove friction from the lending system, if we can create a UPI equivalent on the lending side with AI and data, the bottom of the financial pyramid would disproportionately benefit. So overall, across the board, we see that the end user on the street is the one who's really influencing a modern day tech. So now let me come to you, Jay. So see, there's no better example than Flipkart when we talk about scale. So Flipkart, the last I read, had upward of 400 million customers, which is at least 25% more than the entire population of the United States. So massive scale. And even if 2 or 3% of these users access your app simultaneously, we are talking about double-digit million simultaneous users. So massive load, seasonal spikes, fluctuation in load, variation in load. So you have everything right there, all the complexities that India scale and population scale brings. So my question is, how are you leveraging AI in scale to address the kind of problems, the hard problems that such a massive scale would bring?
Sure,
Real
Krishna.
examples of
Yeah.
what
Happy to
you've
talk
seen.
about it.
Yeah.
So as you rightly called out, it's one of the elements is scale. Of course, these large numbers itself mean that you need to deploy solutions that are able to seamlessly adapt to these kind of volumes.
Yes.
and peaks and troughs, right? So that is one element of complexity. The other element is the diversity of the Indian customer base as well. It's almost like serving dozens of different geographies from the same platform at the same time, because in different parts of the country, the assortments that are preferred by them, the e-commerce catalog itself is very different, and vernacular, the languages spoken are very different. So clearly, given the complexities of scale as well as the diversity of the audiences that we cater to, we don't have any choice except to actually deploy AI solutions as a key lever to address this. And even before Gen AI, for example, I'll talk about like how we leveraged AI across both our user journeys for so many different user need states and touch points, helping them with their what we call as a jobs to be done framework, to help them through their platform journey. And sellers, for example, as well as even our delivery people who are the touch points for delivering the product to your doorstep, right? So across several use cases, I'll call out maybe one or two or three of those use cases. But to call out, even before Gen AI onset, we had upwards of about 250, 300, close to that number of custom built, tuned, and maintained AI models that have been deployed. On the consumer side, some of the examples are personalization at scale, being able to do things like N=1 personalization, not just cohort level personalizations. On a typical user session, we collect a few hundred data points. So anytime you make a single click on the platform, we instrument and collect so many data points, and that all goes back and feeds back into algorithms. We have algorithms that operate in basically a multi-billion parameter space. For example, our personalization algorithms that do product to product, product to user, and user to user cross. Each of these as parameters in its parameter space is actually a multi-tens of billions of parameter space model, right? So, and all of this has to run in real time and serve results within 50 milliseconds when you're trying to search for a product, right? So we use that personalization. For personalization, we use it for our catalog cleanups. How do you maintain a very clean catalog, avoiding duplicates, enrich product attributes, lot of trust and safety use cases. As a marketplace platform, it's paramount to make sure that user trust is maintained, right? So there is, in any marketplace platform, there is like consumer fraud, seller fraud, supply chain fraud. So how do you use the signals available and control for these and minimize these and manage a very high quality platform for all users involved? So this involves real-time order screening, anomaly detection algorithms, and so many things, right? And similarly, on the supply chain, we use AI solutions for lots of optimizations, assortment planning, predicting using demand planning and forecasting, predicting our supply needs and all of that stuff. So lots and lots of use cases across the entire life cycle of user journeys on the platform. So I'll come back to you, Christian. I think like I talked about use cases, clearly as one of the largest technology services providers in the world, you would be working with more or less all of the Fortune 500 companies, right? And you must have seen so many different use cases that you're being asked to help your customers with. And especially in this era of Gen AI, can you talk about some of the use cases? There are lots of questions about our Gen AI use cases being mostly enterprise internal use cases. Are they using it for outside in or consumer facing use cases? What is happening, right? Employee productivity use cases. What exactly are you seeing from your vantage point?
Great question, Jay. See, like you said, Kyndryl has several thousand customers worldwide and several hundred customers in India. So we across industries. So we've started seeing a lot of interesting use cases. So since the rebirth of AI 15 months back, we have been experimenting, we have been prototyping, we have been building solutions for clients and so on and so forth. Now, to abstract it out, there are two first order categories of use cases that we see that are triggering a domino effect across industries, right? One is the elevated search and second is code generation. So on search, just about a year or two back, search was considered a commodity, no budget, right? But today, when search is elevated to the level of semantic search, it's part of boardroom conversations. People are thinking how to use search to reach new customers or reach existing customers in new, novel ways. So now search today means unleashing a cognitive engine on top of data, right? So perform analysis on the data with contextual meaning and user intent. Can cognition be applied on top of this data and emitted out as an advisory service, right? So that is search, and the kind of NLP models is domain specific. So for clinical text, you have medical NLP models. For financial text, if you want to do financial sentiment analysis, there is financial NLP models and so on and so forth. So a lot of diffusion in this space because this entire technology is revolving around natural language, right? So this is the first bucket. So the second bucket is around code generation. You have models like Code Llama that is generating strong programming languages like, say, a Python or a C++ or a Java. So if as a developer, you generate, say, 50 lines of code a day, with this AI-assisted code generators, you can increase your productivity 10 times, right? 10x, so maybe 500 lines of code a day rather than 50 lines of code a day. So you code at a higher level with these assistants. Now, in addition to code generation, we also see image generation and video generation models. So just about 3-4 days back, OpenAI releases a new model called Sora, which can generate very realistic videos out of prompts, right? So this entire space is evolving like this. But while all these facets are unlocking unparalleled innovation, hand in hand, they are also provoking novel cybersecurity challenges, right? So we have new threats that we have not heard of earlier. Just to give you one or two examples, there's something called model inversion today, which means can you manipulate the parameters of a model in order to control the output that it generates, right? Or think of data poisoning or model poisoning, new kind of threats, where you influence the training data so that a particular outcome is engineered from the model. Then this entire technology is probabilistic as well, which means that the same query can generate different results at different points in time. And what that means is it makes it more difficult to recreate problems, right? So because of the indeterminism or probabilistic nature of this technology. And then we have hallucinations, and hallucinations, it's not a bug, it's a feature, because you can't just take away hallucination without taking away the entropy. So hallucination means unexpected results, which are not present in the underlying data sets, sometime or the other, right? And then there is this aspect of the models largely being black boxes. So when you're looking at it as an applied Gen AI app store developer, there is a black box nature, which means the explainability is limited. So hand in hand with this unparalleled creativity gains that are getting unlocked, the developer also has to grapple with all these threats and challenges to bring out this, to elevate this productivity gains to creativity gains, right? So this is what we see. Now let me come to you, Jay. See, you talked about very interesting tidbits about the kind of AI, generic AI work you're doing. You talked about how you're using ML models for deep personalization and catalog cleaning and so on. You mentioned 3-digit number of models, 100 or 200 traditional AI ML deep learning models that you're using across your huge customer base. So now if I focus more on the generative AI part of it, right, coming down to specifics, have you already implemented certain Gen AI use cases? If I go and purchase something on Flipkart, am I actually hitting some applied Gen AI code already? And are you also, given this mass scale, do you see scalability challenges? Because Gen AI the applications are also large, everything is large, data is large, the models are large, debugging is difficult. So are you able to scale it across users? Do you see challenges of ethics and fairness and bias and responsibility and the works? So any insights from you on this, I think people will appreciate.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna. Of course, I mean, we are investing deeply in GenAI as well. Some of the key use cases where we have already deployed GenAI solutions, I will talk about. So the one use case that you as a consumer can experience even now is that on the Flipkart app on the homepage, if you do a left swipe today, you will land into a new conversational commerce assistance bot, which we call as a Flippy bot.
Okay.
It is an interface that allows you to explore our vast catalog of more than 100 million different listings that we have across every category. You can ask any questions about specifications of products. It can summarize reviews and ratings from users for you. It understands the offers currently ongoing on the platform and help you figure out what is the best way for you to get the lowest price on the product by using, let's say, a bank offer or EMI or something else. So things that were very difficult for the users to do in their consumer journey of discovering products on the platform, we have tried to simplify it. So some examples are today in a traditional search interface, you will need to figure out what are the right magic keywords to utter to find the product that you want. And it becomes even more difficult in categories which are inspiration categories. For example, fashion, right? You have a rough idea of like what you want, but it's a very complex exploration space, right? It's very difficult to characterize what you're looking for in words. So it used to be a hit and miss process. We see, for example, the click depth is a measure that we use to measure how quickly on the search results page users are able to find the result they're looking for. Click depth and reformulated queries in a given session for the same underlying product need, right, is very high for certain categories. So we are trying to use this bot, like you can think of this bot as a very knowledgeable salesperson who knows the catalog very well, any category that you want to purchase for. It knows that salesperson knows you as a person as well pretty well, because personalization from our traditional models are also available for the bot to be able to use to deliver highly personalized outcomes for you. So that is seeing really good adoption and traction. We also helped our sellers, for example, create very high quality cataloging today by, even if you just have a very small seller operation, you're submitting a tabletop image of, let's say, a dress that you're trying to sell on the platform. It was very difficult earlier for you to compete on equal footing with probably sellers that are much more well-funded, have a large digital operation running. They can do model shoots, they can do mannequin shoots, they can do real-world outdoor setting shoots, etc. Their quality of catalog will be substantially better than you. And it's very difficult in the discovery process to compete on equal footing with that catalog. But at the end of the day, if you as a seller have the right product at the right quality and pricing, you should be able to also get traction on the platform, right? So we have developed some solutions now. It will automatically use GenAI avatars to do equivalent of model photo shoots for let's say article of clothing you're submitting into the catalog. We create automated rich product descriptions. We fill in missing items in the catalog, for example, by using GenAI models, review summarization, and so many different use cases on which. So today, we internally started pilots on almost 25, 26 different use cases. I would say half of them are already in production in some form or the other at certain levels of scale, and we fully expect to scale these up over a period of time. Cool. So one of the use cases that we also look at is internal productivity use cases, and we are deploying it for that as well, right? Employee productivity use cases. You talked about coding and how coding itself has become that much more simpler, and productivity has increased orders of magnitude, right? So one of the elements, again, I was very curious to know about is you work with lots of companies that must be exploring internal productivity use cases and efficiency use cases among your customers, right? What, in your view, is the right way to balance these sort of efficiency gains with the right context in which they're integrated into the company? For example, a lot of people are worried about what will happen to jobs in this new AI era of automation and efficiencies. What is your take on that?
Great question, Jay. So, see, the first step I would say is to convince the workforce that if the company does not listen to the market, then the company is going to get fossilized. And what's bad for the company is bad for the employees. So unless the company lets technology touch and seep into the core of the business model without just tiptoeing on the periphery, the company itself will not escape disruption, which is bad for the employee base. So we know that market shifts can rattle the foundations of the most prominent of enterprises, right? So in this new world, nobody is safe. So if you don't communicate meaningfully with the market, then you have to shut shop. That is the reality. We have many famous global examples ranging from Xerox to Kodak to even Yahoo advertising or Research in Motion, Blockbuster, all of these. And even in India, we have examples here. So 10 years back, we had 10 telco companies, right? Today, we have 3. So 7 have gotten disrupted, and the 3 have thrived in the midst of this disruption. Similarly, for airlines, we have airlines who are carrying millions of passengers a month, shutting shop in a matter of couple of years, right? Similarly, smartphone manufacturers. We had manufacturers who were manufacturing double-digit millions of phones a month who are shutting shop now. So the first thing is one has to, as a corporation, it is good for the employees if the company escapes disruption and thrives in it. Now, secondly, see on the job front, right? So this is a complex, the correlations in this space are complex because it's a multivariate equation. So there are roughly 2 large trajectories. Yeah, one trajectory is it creates, the new technology comes in, creates a net new economy, creates net new jobs, both high skilled and low skilled. So in the automotive sector, app-based taxis, they created a massive new business model, the new set of jobs for drivers and some new high-tech jobs. But in the same sector, automotive, driverless cars, they are navigating a different trajectory, which is, if it is successful, if driving becomes so easy that you no longer need drivers when that maturity phase comes, it is going to result in a loss of a lot of low-skilled jobs, but yet create maybe some high-skilled jobs, right? And see, the thing is, in India, as per various statistics, 1 million Indians enter the working age population every single month. So the calculations say that net in a year, you need to create about 8 or 9 million new jobs just to maintain the current level of employment. And the government wants the GDP to be growth to be as close to 10% as possible as well. What this means is you have to look at sunrise technologies, exponential technologies, no longer focus just on the traditional manufacturing and textiles and so on. So you have to do AI, you have to do robotics, you have to do digital manufacturing and so on and so forth. And the good thing is that, like you mentioned around generative AI and such, see the growth, it's a steep S curve. So all these exponential technologies, they start their growth slow, then they accelerate and then they plateau out, right? In the case of generative AI and exponential technologies, the data that we have from the last 15 months is a steep S curve, which means the number of jobs that are being created is pretty high. So now that we are coming to the end of the session, let me ask Jay. See, technology is changing at such a breathtaking pace, right? I mean, it's riveting actually. And like I said, even a couple of days back, this new model called Sura got released. We have this kaleidoscope changing as we speak. Tech disruptions are now faster than ever. So I wanted Jay's opinion, as he's at the vantage point driving a household name in India, right? So how do you see the evolution, the trajectory of generative AI and allied technologies, and where are we headed to?
Sure. I think we have run out of time, so I'll keep my response very brief. I think this morning, Mustafa talked about some of it. I think the models are going to get much more powerful over time. They'll get larger. They'll integrate real-time inputs. They will become primarily multimodal. So being able to infuse both from inputs and outputs perspective, the ability to consume as well as spit out videos, images, voice, vernacular languages, and all of that in a very native way. I do think that a lot of companies will move more and more towards a mixture of experts model with a set of homegrown models, lightweight LLMs, custom LLMs, fine-tuned ones that they've built, being interspersed with large commercial models as well as open source models. And every company has to figure out how they're going to get business ROI out by coming up with the right architecture that balances functionality and performance with cost and the business outcomes that as a company you're trying to get at. So with that, I guess it's time for us to close. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Great
Krishnan, for a
insights.
great conversation.
Thank you, gentlemen, for putting forward those insightful insights in front of us.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to NASSCOM YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.